Hello, Crystal Palace. Welcome to the Upper Norwood Library Hub's Library Lunch. This is a place to share positive and useful local information, find out about our amazing community in a bit more depth, and just try and keep us all connected during this rather strange time. So I'm delighted to welcome my guest today, who is Eliska Finlay, who started the first petition to open Auckland Road, and this snowballed into the Open Our Roads campaign. Eliska, thank you so much for joining me. It's great to have you. Tell
Hi,
us a
Eleanor.
bit.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. Tell us a bit about Open Our Roads and where it came from.
Open Our Roads is a campaign that has sort of snowballed beyond our imagination. We couldn't quite believe how enthusiastically people are joining this campaign. The whole thing started when we, overnight in our community, we were given all sorts of road closures on various roads. About 7 roads were impacted. And a bus gate was installed, and this was under the COVID emergency orders. But people were really quite surprised by this. They couldn't understand what was going on. Very few people even knew that this was going to happen. And I think this sudden change, which has been an incredibly dramatic change to our lives, has just been met with disbelief from a lot of people in the community. So we created a petition. We wanted to see whether people are aware of this, aware of the reasons behind it, and what they think about it. And over the first initial weeks, there were sort of 3 or 4 different petitions that sprung up around the closures, and people felt very, very strongly that they didn't want to be part of. They didn't want this to happen in their neighborhood, and certainly not in the way that it's been implemented. So we banded together, all the petition leaders, and we're just residents. We're a grassroots campaign, and it slowly grew from there. We created a Facebook page which now has almost 2,000 people on it, and we started meeting. It was a gift in some way. We started meeting our neighbors. There's been an incredible community feeling within this area. Everyone jumping in, helping out, and at the moment we've got 10 people actively working on making sure that we have a successful campaign.
Amazing. Tell us about some of what the issues actually are for the residents.
We have spent the last 2 months, I would say, speaking to hundreds and hundreds of people, hundreds of neighbors in our area. We've spoken to hundreds of traders, hundreds of local businesses. We've gone to see the GP. We've spoken to the church. We've spoken to huge numbers of people to find out how this is affecting them. And small things has a real deep impact on people. We've spoken to Anne-Marie, for example, who said, she lives on Sylvan Road, and she says it's impacting her mental health because she's feeling sort of claustrophobic, thinking that she can't get through these barriers that are now on her roads. We've got a gentleman, Tom, who is lovely, and he's lived here for 30 years, and he has had, he's got COPD, and despite being a blue badge holder, he was told by the council he can no longer travel through the bus gate to get to his GP, which is only 350 meters. Wow. Which means now that he has to travel all the way around and on very, very congested roads. And when you're definitely when you're older and things change and you're confused as to why things are happening, then it can have a real negative impact on you. But we've had many other stories as well. Carers, Yamela was telling us that some of her carers that she works with are spending 2 hours a day extra because they cannot actually get to all the people they need to get to traveling around, and because of these roads that are closed. And that impacts on their family lives. They come home late. So it's many people have voiced frustration and anger at the way that this has been done.
I have to say, I saw a I saw an ambulance actually turn into one of the blocked off roads last week at some point in the morning. And 10 seconds later, obviously, you had to come back out again and carry on down Church Road. And I have wondered whether, the emergency services are maybe finding it quite difficult. It could be quite dangerous potentially, but I don't know. I'm not
Yes, I think, and I
a
think,
driver.
no, but I think that you're absolutely right to highlight that. And I think a lot of people are feeling nervous that this might happen.
Yeah.
It's not that there isn't access. Of course, the ambulances could get to them. The difference is that the ambulances will be stuck in the same congestion that we are all stuck in.
Mm-hmm.
And when an ambulance can't move through congested areas, the difference between, life and death, we are talking, and people feel nervous about that. A lovely woman wrote me the other day, and Chloe, and she said that her husband actually suffered a stroke, and she spent, before they knew, she spent 30 minutes trying to get to her GP, and then she had to struggle back through all the traffic to get to King's College Hospital. And these are distressing and very, very real stories that people are telling us about. So I think, we've been sort of put in a position here of doing the council's job for them, reaching out to the community, speaking to people, and we should not really have been put in this position at all. But we are going out, we are listening, we are hearing what people are saying to us, and trying our best to relay this to the council, and hope, wanting them to hear us and to listen.
Yeah. How have you done this, and what kind of activities have you been doing?
We have been so busy. It's been quite amazing. It's taken over much of our lives, I can say that. So we are quite active on Facebook. We do post often in CP Local. We have leafleted many roads many times. We went shop to shop to speak to every single trader to find out how this is affecting them at the triangle. How are they impacted by this? Are they impacted by this? We have on our petitions, we post updates constantly so that people can see what's happening and what else is out there. We reach out to people and we say, if there's a neighbor that that isn't on any of this media, let us know and we will come and visit, we will come and see. We've reached out to community leaders, we've reached out to councillors many times, and we're actively involved in council meetings. We watch the council meetings, we send in, we participate democratically in the systems that we are given. And we encourage people to do the same, to actively get involved, to email. We provide them with information. We give them, ways in which they can contact who they should contact. And I think the pressure that we have applied on the council has allowed for the council to understand that at least a decent consultation should be done. So they have announced that there will be a official consultation from next week.
Okay.
And that will run until the 16th of December, I believe. So for the next 4 or 5 weeks, there will be an official, and I would encourage absolutely everyone in the area to go onto the council website or join our Facebook group, and we'll point you in the right direction and show you where you can make your voice heard.
I guess the most important thing really is to just, for anybody who has a strong viewpoint in either direction, because I guess some people like the road closures too, perhaps, but
absolutely, and I think it was interesting. There are a couple of myths I think that one should bust. I think the first myth is that this is a campaign against cyclists. It's not. This is not a drivers versus cyclists campaign. Many of us are multimodal. We use public transport, we walk, we use bicycles, we drive. Some of us don't own cars, but we're still not, we're still opposed to it. So the idea that this is, sort of as simplistic as car versus bicycle is, I think, is something to challenge. It's not like that. I have many cyclists who speak to me about the now more dangerous roads that we have. But the other myth, I think, to bust is that there is this silent majority in favor. I know that there are people in favor of this LTN, and it's great. It's good that we live in a democracy where we can all have our opinions and our voices. But we've got over 6,000 unique signatures on our 4 petitions opposing the road closures in this area. And when we've done our leaflet drops encouraging people to please speak up and email the council, this went to every single household. We weren't specifically targeting finding out whether people are only on our side. We did encourage the entire community to speak up. And Croydon Council has recently said to us that in fact 80% of people who have contacted them are opposed to this scheme in its form. So there, we are a passionate group of people in Crystal Palace, and I love that. And people are definitely encouraged both ways to speak up. I think it could have been done so much better, and I think we wouldn't have had perhaps all the opposition had it just been implemented in a better way.
This is definitely the impression I'm getting from what you're saying, is that actually one of the biggest problems is that there wasn't the consultation there to find out, to say what the plans were and to find out what people's thoughts were and how that might impact them in advance, perhaps.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, and it came in under the emergency powers, so they didn't have to consult us. I think where LTNs have worked well is where they have already earmarked certain areas or certain roads for closing, and where they had already started data gathering, and where they had already started involving the community and had already started doing preparation work around this. What we have in our situation is quite unique in that we have absolutely no data prior. There's just no data. There's nothing. We have no data from the council on. There's been no impact assessments done. We've had no equalities impact assessments done. We've had, and in fact, so we can't even. I mean, the council unfortunately can't even tell us what a successful outcome would look like because they don't have the data prior. So from our point of view, we say remove the barriers, remove the bus gate. And then do what is needed to be done. Speak to people, find out. Let's have discussions about what the purpose of these roads are. We're Crystal Palace is a destination for people. People come here from all over. They come here from Coulsdon and from Streatham and from Brixton and from absolutely everywhere. We are a destination. And the roads that we have around us are needed to transport goods and to help people's livelihoods and to support the local traders who, over and above the ones at the triangle. These are roads that we need for the specific geography as well that we have in our area. We don't have the best transport links on a very local level. It's difficult to just get up to the triangle in with a little bus because there isn't one, or a tram system, or some carpooling system or something like that. These things don't exist for us. So I think all of this needs to be taken into consideration before we start closing roads and deciding what will work for a community when clearly it doesn't.
Yeah. Cool. I'm going to get you to explain LTN in a sec, because this was something I hadn't actually heard before today. But just before you do that, I have a couple of comments relating from the last 10 minutes, which I just wanted to read out. So Shane commented, this is relating to my story about the ambulance, I think, and your response to that. And he said, and one of the councillor comments, I believe I read, stated that all emergency services were notified. I wonder
yes,
whether
that's right. Emergency services were notified. That's absolutely right. That does not change the fact that when an emergency vehicle needs to get to you and they can't go this way around anymore on the quiet road, they have to go this way around on the congested road. That doesn't take away from that. But I have also spoken to the police, for example, the Safer Neighbourhood team, and they say, because the police, the structures have changed slightly, but sometimes they need to bring in police officers from further afield to be able to cope with everything. And if a person from Bromley comes in and they don't know, they're not familiar with the new out layout of the roads, then that can cause delays. But I think, yeah.
No, I was just going to say, I wonder also if Google Maps has actually caught up, because I've certainly seen a lot of people who look confused and or angry trying to get kind of navigate the system.
Yes, I think that it is a problem, and we've seen Google Maps actually do the thing that has frustrated a lot of us more than, well, alongside the many other frustrations, is that traffic has now been diverted through the Bromley side, the Bromley residents. That was, those roads on the Bromley side of our LTN were incredibly quiet roads, lovely neighborhood roads, and they are now absolutely jam-packed with all the diverted cars. So that's, it's an extraordinary thing to do to some of our neighbors.
And just to be clear, it's Croydon Council that's closed the roads that we're talking about, isn't it? So this is one of the things about Crystal Palace being on the cusp of so many boroughs, that we've got Bromley residents now dealing with the extra traffic from a Croydon Council decision.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. That's exactly right. And there were problems definitely in the communication initially between Croydon and Bromley. So Bromley wasn't aware of this. They were actually notified by the Bromley leader, only found out when a journalist asked him what he felt about it. So, that, yeah, not a good look. Yeah. And so there has been a pushback because it has felt very, it's felt arrogant, in a way. It's felt, people feel like this thing has just sprung up with no real, well, with not even following all the correct procedures. And with no idea about what the impact might be. So people feel very, very frustrated by that.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I've got one more comment actually from Roxanne, who said we've done more outreach than the council has done, which is certainly what it sounded like from what you've said.
We have, definitely. We have gone above and beyond. The businesses that we spoke to, just the businesses at the Triangle, had all told us that they had never had any communication about any of this from the council. Even the GP surgery on Auckland Road said that they had never had any communication from the council until the bus gate was installed. And yet we have gone and spoken to all of these institutions to find out what they feel and how they're impacted by this. I think I'd like to make one more point, if you don't mind, just about a further myth that we would like to remove, is this idea that we're not environmentally aware. This is not the case. Again, when we've spoken to so many people, they're deeply concerned about the environment. They would love to take part in schemes where it encourages you to cycle, or it encourages you to walk or ditch the car. I think what people find extremely difficult to stomach is that this is supposed to be a campaign whereby we are creating cleaner, fresher neighborhoods. And what we have seen is just hours and hours and hours of cars polluting on the main roads because they have nowhere else to go. And a vehicle that is on the road longer, a vehicle that has to stop, start constantly because they're in congestion, is a vehicle that pollutes more. So people are just astounded that this is some kind of environmental policy. It just doesn't make any sense to them. Sharon contacted me recently as well, and she said, her daughter has been coughing for 3 months now. She walks the daughter to school every day along South Norwood Hill. And she's tested her. In fact, she's coughed so much, she's tested her for COVID. Wow. She tested negative. And this is just so the increase in asthma, the increase in pollution that people have to breathe in is just unacceptable.
I did read recently, I think it's something I saw on Twitter, that there was a local group that were trying to set up air quality testing. And I don't know whether you've come across that or whether that happened, and whether that's worth trying to link in with and see if they managed it.
Definitely. I think the testing of the pollution is crucial. It's really, really important that we already had data showing that there were unacceptable levels of pollution on Church Road. And so this idea that, so the council knew that, and the idea that they would then opt to put more cars onto that road, it just doesn't make any environmental sense at all. So yes, absolutely, going forward, if people want to get involved in our campaign, we are looking at pollution meters. We are doing all of these things as part of our campaign.
Amazing. What do you have? Kind of what's happening?
Well,
next?
I hope everyone is going to be there. We've got a protest coming up on Sunday, and the protest is an idling protest. Idling as in we are not marching as people, because of course we are in COVID, and this is not a time to this is a time for standing still and still showing your opinion. So we are meeting people just for 1 hour between 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock on Church Road this week Sunday, the 1st of November. That marks about 3 months since we've had the beginning of these closures. That marks 3 months, and people will have 10 stewards there. We've done a full comprehensive risk assessment. We've asked everybody to please bring their masks. People will walk up and simply stand 2 meters apart from each other for the hour along the pavements of Church Road, to show that they are opposed to this. We've invited councillors, we've invited Steve Reed, we've encouraged people to attend so that they can so that we can just give the council a little bit of insight into how many people feel frustrated by this. So that's this week Sunday, and I hope I'm going to be surrounded by many friends and neighbours. And then beyond that, we are really encouraging people to get involved in our campaign. We really would like them to join our Facebook group, find us. We have a lot of information for people of what they can do and how they can get involved.
So if people want to join the Facebook group, it's Open Our Roads, and if they look for that on Facebook, they'll find it.
Yes, yeah, it's quite easy to find us, and our logo has been has been seen on other Facebook groups, so look out for our logo. It's red and black, and amazing. Join us.
And we've also got an email address for you, which we will put in the chat of the various social media feeds. I've got a comment as well from Alison, who says "Go Eliska" in capitals with an exclamation mark.
Thank you very much. People have been extraordinary. We have just got the most special and wonderful community. It's been a privilege for me to be part of this and to meet all these people. And it's been, it's as I said earlier, it's like a gift.
Yeah, well, I love that you've obviously got to know people in the community, like got to know more people and got to know people better through doing it. I think that's absolutely how it should be. I have another comment from Shane as well, who says, I hope loads of people show up, especially after the obvious rage so many people show. Thanks, Shane. So just as we're sort of coming towards the end of our time, so really as a final question, what would success actually look like?
Success for us is quite clear. We would like the LTN barriers to be removed. And then we would like involvement and engagement from our council with our community to find out how we need to use our roads, how we want to use our roads, and what we would like to protect. For example, the triangle. We would like to protect the triangle. Our business area. We would like to protect and the businesses on South Norwood Hill and the businesses on Annerley Hill. And we would like them to engage with us and see what it is that we as a community need. We're quite unique. We're different to many other parts in Croydon, many other parts in London. And I think that would be a great success for us.
Yeah, I have a final comment from Shane here, who says, you people have been great putting this together. So there we go. Oh, and another one. Sorry, I have more comments. Keep them coming, guys. This is great. I have a comment from Scott. He says, as a local councillor, I totally agree. This has been as I'm going to start that again. As a local councillor, I totally agree. This has been badly implemented onto the community. Thanks, Scott. That's much appreciated.
Scott. Thank you very much. And we do, we do really appreciate the support from everyone, as I said in the beginning, we are a broad church. We have, people from Labour to Lib Dems to Greens to Tories. We've got a broad spectrum of people in our group. We're not political. We are people who are just concerned about this incredible thing that has happened to us.
Yes, and happened in a time that is already very difficult, with a lot of uncertainty, a lot of anxiety around it as well.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything else that you want to say? That seems like a really brilliant comment to finish on, actually, but is there anything else that you want to add?
No, I just want to say it has been an absolute pleasure to be part of this community. Yes.
Awesome. Oh, I totally agree.
And see you all on Sunday.
So it's Sunday was it 2 till 3?
2 o'clock to 3 o'clock.
Brilliant.
It's 1 hour. Come out, make your placards, bring your whistles and your masks, and then come and join us.
Amazing. I've just realized I did say I was going to get you to explain an LTN.
Yes, you did.
Would you mind just doing that for anybody like me who didn't know what that meant?
Absolutely. So LTN stands for low traffic neighborhood, and it is designed to remove some of the traffic that shouldn't be there. A very successful LTN, for example, the one in Waltham Forest, it comprises something like 58,000 houses. They spent years designing it, getting the whole community involved. They looked at where traffic was coming from, which traffic was local. And importantly, I think it's really crucial to include retail and shops within an LTN, because that is where people would like to walk to. As I mentioned to you earlier, in our little area, we've got no shops whatsoever. The triangle is where we would go to. So it's important to think about all these elements when you're designing an LTN, and also to make sure that there's perfect, brilliant alternative transport options, which we are a little bit lacking. And then also with the hills yes. that we have, you've got to be a certain kind of fitness to level to be able to navigate the hills. Yeah. They're extraordinary.
Yes, and you can't always afford to turn up somewhere sweaty having cycled up Gypsy Hill.
Absolutely, yes.
Yes, amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming to chat to us. I hope Sunday goes really well.
Thank you, Eleanor. Thank you very much for having me. It's been wonderful to speak to you.
You too. It's a pleasure. So just before we finish, if anybody's interested in joining the campaign, all the links and things are in the feed. Do join everybody 2 till 3 o'clock on Church Road. Bring your placards, bring your masks on Sunday if you want to join the campaign. And just a couple of things before we finish. Firstly, something that I saw this morning on social media that I wanted to give a shout out to, because it really links in with the community aspect of what we've been talking about today, is just SE19 Lates have launched a Christmas raffle. And the aim here is to promote our wonderful independent traders, to encourage our community to shop locally, and to bring some much needed festive cheer to our local area. This year, all profits from the raffle will be reinvested to support our local high streets in Crystal Palace. I think especially at this point, we're so lucky to have such a lovely community, such lovely shops, and it obviously is a very, very difficult time for all of them. The tickets are only £1 each. Every prize is worth at least £50 recommended retail price, with all the prizes supplied by our local traders, and more prizes are going to be added over the next few weeks, and the draw ends on the 3rd of December, so please do jump on if you can afford to spend £1 or £2 just buying a raffle ticket. Please do, and help support our lovely local shops, and hopefully the link for that is now in the social media feed, because Rin's very efficient, so I'm sure it is. Two other things I have to say. The first is that tomorrow at 6 o'clock, we are live streaming a Halloween concert through the Library Hub Facebook page. This is family friendly. It's got some amazing West End singers in it. There'll be songs from things like Wicked, The Witches of Eastwick, Sweeney Todd, and many more. And I've said this before on this show, but my favourite story so far is Jo Napthine wanting to know if she could be dressed as a cat singing on top of a table. So I'm definitely excited to see if that happens. So it's 6 till 7 tomorrow evening through the Upper Norwood Library Hub Facebook page. It is free to watch, so obviously any donations are hugely appreciated, and it is family friendly, so please do tune in and join us for that. And then finally, just we still have a week or two left on All Alone Together, which is our Arts Council funded project looking at the impact of COVID-19 on our local community. Partly this is about research for the Library Hub to see what we can do to help going forward. And also we're creating a sort of Library of Voices podcast with members of the local community in their own words, in their own voices, explaining their experiences. There's a very short survey on our website, just 4 questions. It would be so helpful for our research if you could all fill it in. And if you're happy to be part of the podcast, do tick the box saying you're willing to be interviewed, and I would love to speak to you. The interviews last about an hour. We won't go anywhere that you're not happy to go. And it doesn't have to be any kind of big, huge, dramatic stories. It's just really interesting hearing about even the little details that have been impacted by COVID. So the more people who do it, the better our research and the more interesting the podcast. So please do come and join us for that. The first 3 episodes of the podcast are actually already available on the website. So if you want to kind of hear what sort of thing we're going for with the result, what the interview might end up like, then you can do that. In the meantime, we'll be back on Monday. So have a good weekend. Take care. And Eliska, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you again, Eleanor. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Stay safe, everybody. Bye.